Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Fellas, where we're going to be discussing the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Once again, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date on all things The Fellas. We go live every race Grand Prix weekend, race day at 7 p.m. Eastern. So, fellas, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, we have to start with qualifying. I mean, because it seemed the race was basically set from qualifying, not trying to say it's processional like Monaco, but it was Monaco-esque. But anyway, qualifying, I'm going to just throw it out. Simon, your thoughts on qualifying?
Azerbaijan. I thought the qualifying was interesting. If we back up to practice before we get to qualifying just a little bit, it was interesting that Norris and Lewis were the favorites going in to qualifying based on their positions in practice. So qualifying to me was crazy how not only did all the elements and environment of the weather and Azerbaijan itself create some real challenges. I mean, it was 2 hours long, 2 hour long qualifying. I'm sitting there going, what? Because I was watching it live. And it was just crazy how Norris and Lewis were both not in the top three. In my opinion, I thought it was going to be a McLaren, Ferrari top three in qualifying, but no one was really ready for the elements that took place.
Yeah. Ray?
Well, I agree with Simon, right? That Azerbaijan threw a whammy into the race, with the weather and the track layout. And I was, equally surprised as to see how sensitive to the wind the car is, how aero dependent it is, and and also how some of those guys got caught out by the weather change. So it set the stage for the race, and it's eye opening for me to see especially the sensitivity to wind, how it shows you how aero dependent these vehicles are.
Seeing how that tailwind upset caught a lot of them out, but not only that, it started spitting down some rain, and that caught them out as well. But it's a street circuit. There is no runoff. I mean, even under ideal conditions, you have to be so precise that you don't hit the barriers. So I when I thought about it after, I'm like, seems so. But yes, I was surprised at how aero dependent it was with the tailwind, how it was catching them out and making them slide like that. But having said that, have to give it to Max. He did a great qualify. He put it down. He's once again shows that if he gets the opportunity, when it comes to that, you need that excellent qualifying lap. He's always there to deliver it, regardless. And it seemed to no one else is. I mean, Ferrari, I don't know what happened with Lewis, that he was out there. I know it was the tires and how he was left out a little bit too long on his tires and wanted to come in, but they couldn't bring him in or didn't bring him in. But it seemed to catch them all out. Like, I wondered, where was McLaren? But I throw it out to you, Simon. Go.
No, I mean McLaren. I mean Oscar qualifying 9th and Lando qualifying 7th. It really showed that that day of qualifying was completely unpredictable. They had no idea how to manage the situation right there on the spot. And Ferrari made some faux pas for sure. I mean, Charles was 10th, Lewis was 12th. Lewis was out there on the wrong tires at the wrong stint in Q2 for sure. And, like you said, Max capitalized, Carlos Sainz capitalized, Liam Lawson capitalized, and definitely Mercedes, right? Mercedes were able to capitalize on qualifying. Even Kimi was ahead of George Russell for 4th and 5th place. So, got to give a little bit with respect to Yuki as well, getting up there in 6th. So anyway, 2 hours of qualifying, you knew that there were some red flags that took place for sure, and there were some issues that they were just having on that day.
Yeah. Right?
Well, so true, but I wanted to just throw this out there. I heard, well, yes, in the last race, it seems that Red Bull has started to, their engineers are starting to listen to the driver, right? Because Max proved them right. Because I think I've said in the past that these engineers are too data driven. They keep forgetting the last part of the equation, which is a driver, and adopting Enzo's Ferrari, saying that, the driver has to adapt to the car as opposed to adapting the car to the driver. And I think what happened is that now the engineers are kind of looking at the data and realizing for the guys over in Red Bull, Max, and realizing that the data speaks this, but we still need to consult the driver to say, hey, yes, even though the data says this, when I'm in the car, this is what I feel, and this is where we need to make the setting so I could feel to a level where I'm comfortable, right? And I think they did the last race, and I think they did it this race, and I think it's proving out that, again, we're not robotic racing yet, but the driver has to have some comfort, and you have to be able to put your data in the overall context of what you're trying to accomplish, right? Yeah. So I think they've got, they're gotten that message out, and they're starting to do it. One other rumor I'm going to throw out there for you guys. There's a rumor out there that Lewis's engineer Bono might be coming over to Ferrari.
Really?
Because that's what I said. I said a rumor.
Okay.
That Bono's coming up Ferrari because right now the dude that, even though Ferrari played him up, maybe played up that he has a lot of experience, then Lewis is not gelling with that engineer. So I just want to throw that out there. That's
for 2026. So for the end of the season.
Yeah, no, for next year. For next year.
Okay. Yeah. We're gonna wait and see.
Yep.
I mean, if it happens, we'll say Ray brought it to us first.
Yeah. Well, there's other things I brought to you guys you have acknowledged. So don't spoil me now by saying it. Just leave it alone.
As long as our viewers know that we brought it to them first, it's all that really matters, right?
Well, it's not first because whoever generated the rumor is the one that did it first, right?
So, no, we did.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so that it was just interesting. As Simon said, I don't take any stock in where they finish in practice anymore, because when it comes to, I take it like drag racing.
Right.
I don't know if you're throwing everything in the table yet. You're just doing something to throw something out there. But where you find out what the real thing is, when it comes to qualifying, you got to bring what you got to that table and show it all. So,
So let's moving into the race, and Max does it again. I mean, we have to lead off with that. I've said it. I'll say it again. For me, I'm not a. It doesn't sound right saying this, but I'm a Lewis fan, right? But I respect drivers like Alonso, Max. Oscar is working up onto that list as well. But anyway, Max did it again. Max qualified, got his spot where a lot of other guys got caught out. And he did what he was supposed to do, what he always does when he gets the opportunity. He ran off with it, made a good start and ran off, right? Oscar Piastri made a bad start. He jumped the start, stopped, caught himself, but then got into anti-stall, fell all the way back to 20th, right? So we see where that goes. But Max, flawless, and went right out with it. Carlos also had a good start. But I'm going to throw it out. I throw it out to you, Ray, the start of the race, and Max did it again.
Well, Max, yes. I'm not a big fan of Max, basically, but I'm big enough to say I can see where talent lies right now. And he has it. You put him out there, he's going to go for it. And once he gets in the front, it's a wrap, basically. It's a wrap. He's going to run his race, right? And as far as Oscar goes, I think he might be feeling a little bit of the pressure, right? Because he wanted to get to the front to get up there so he could go get his points. And yes, he rolled forward, right? And then, stopped the car, and then forgot you have to then reset the clutch, right? To go back in. But because Formula One is technologically advanced, instead of stalling the car, you go into that other mode you just mentioned, but he had to do it. So, I think Oscar might be feeling the pressure now, right? And it's going to be interesting to see how he handles it going forward, right? Because, it's, his teammate was in front of him. He wanted to go get out there to go get maximized points. And it's just that, He made a mistake. It shows that people say he's like calm, cool. It just shows that Oscar is a human. Just we're not doing robots yet. Right. So as so Oscar just exhibited a human trait where, he made a mistake, right? And it cost them. Yeah, and then he tried to fix the mistake by hurrying up on the track and got caught out on the outside, and in a track that's still damp, and boom, went right into the barrier. So hopefully he'll take it as a lesson learned to say yes. Even though I'm behind, I still gotta do it what I can, because now he has a 5-second penalty that's going to hit him on the next race. Right, because of him, Alonso got a penalty because Alonso moved because he moved. Yes. Right. But Alonso was able to clear it at this race, but because he was off track, so he's gonna have to suck it up. And according to one of the commentators, what's his name, Juan Pablo, right? He was a commentator this time, and he said, yeah, well, that's going to be like 3 or 4 spots he's going to be missing. Right.
So 5 seconds, or is it 5 grid places? Because the 5 seconds doesn't make sense.
So it was a time penalty that Alonso had to serve. So he's saying whatever that time penalty is that they had to serve is going to cost them as time in the qualifying positions in the qualifying.
Yes. Yeah. They're going to add it to his qualifying time.
So
Singapore is in the back 5 seconds.
but also he's going to lose that, right? And he's on another street circuit where it's difficult to pass. Yes, and that's the other thing, as you brought that up, is that this thing is just there was a DRS train all the way through. Right. And again, it goes back to me by my saying, they need to let the cars be less aero dependent. We need to see something else, because when these guys get into this stuff, they just can't break out out of it. Right. That is true, but that's Formula One. They're trying, but that's Formula One. So I'm cautious with it, because maybe like you said, Oscar, maybe he just had a bad day, a bad race. It seemed like maybe his nerves got to him in this race, and again, it's a tight track. There's less of a margin for error. If you mess up, you're gone. We saw it in qualifying. So yeah, maybe it rattled him a little bit because he was so tense. But that only shines a light back on Max to show you, yeah, he's a master at that. He's a master at that. We've seen that from Lewis when he was on, firing on all 12 cylinders. I'll use an old Ferrari term there. Back then, more consistent. So hopefully he'll come through. But having said that, I mean, the start was where most of the action was. The start is where most of the action was, and after that, it settled down until we got to McLaren's pit stop woes.
Well, hold on, I do have a little comment on
my bad
on Lando, right? So I believe Lando kind of, I don't want to say he panicked, but I think he's never been in that position in a long time.
Oscar or Lando?
I'm sorry. Well, both. Well, Piastri as well really was talking about.
Okay.
Piastri hadn't been in that position where he's 8th or 9th on the grid going qualifying in a very long time. It's been probably 2 years. And you can tell from the unfamiliar territory that when he was trying to move up, he was trying to move up as quick as possible behind the slow cars. And, if you're not used to that, if you're used to being in the front, you really can't anticipate what the other drivers are going to do before they do it, right? He could probably anticipate Max. He can anticipate Lando. He could probably even anticipate George and Charles, because he's been racing against them for this whole season, right? And everybody in the back is probably new territory for him in the last year. So I think he made one mistake, was probably very upset about that mistake. And of course, it compounds, right? You make one mistake, and if you don't clear your head from that one mistake, there's a second and third mistake coming.
True.
And that's what happened, right? So it's going to be interesting to see him next week and see how fired up he's going to be, because I think he's going to be very fired up.
Yeah, he's coming. He's coming for it next week, definitely.
Yeah.
Next race. He's coming for
Max is 2 in a row.
Yeah.
2 in a row.
2 in a row.
All he got to do is 2 more in a row, and he's right back up in there in the championship hunt.
Yeah. Well, 2 more in a row and another DNF from Oscar. If that's the case, yeah. So it ain't over till it's over.
And the probability is high because they're teammates and they're fighting for points.
And also, this race, if McLaren had finished 1-3, there was another permutation on it as well. They would have clinched the constructors, right? So that carries on as well. So there was a lot of pressure. Put it that way. A lot of pressure. A lot of pressure.
I have a quick question when you finish.
Go ahead. Shoot.
Go ahead.
So, do you think you just brought up the point situation, right? Do you think McLaren would make a decision to say if Oscar is ahead of Lando and Max is caught up to Lando in points, would they team make a decision to say that Lando needs to support Oscar in winning the championship?
Man, now you're gonna go throw that in there, cause Lordy.
I don't know.
Listen, man. I don't know, because McLaren with the papaya rules, possibly. They probably wouldn't. They're still free to race. In F1 back in the day, it would have already been said. Lando would have already been in a support role. Well, I wouldn't say that of McLaren per se, but other teams, Ferrari definitely, Williams of the time back then, definitely those teams. Ron Dennis would have done that too. I think, at that point where you're trying to win both titles, right? Mm-hmm. They would have set it. They would have set a point in the season to say, once you get here, whoever is ahead, if you're ahead by such and such margin, you are now going to be supported by your teammate. So you're free to race up until that point. So I wouldn't be surprised that if that were the case, that McLaren would still say, no, they're free to race. And that would
Zach, where you at, Zach? You need to be listening to the history.
Yeah. So I don't know, but anyway, but I haven't said, Simon, you have anything to add on that before we move?
I don't. That's going to be interesting. One of our viewers is JJ Broderick is stating that McLaren seems spooked about the recent Red Bull upgrades, and I think he's right. Yep. So they may team up just to make sure that they're still in the hunt, and it's just them. As long as they come in first and second, Red Bull doesn't have a chance for the last 6 races or 7 races. Yep. So we'll see what's going to happen. I think it's going to come down to the last 2 races, Ray, before they make a decision of who's going to actually be supported by the other driver. It's just too close.
Yeah. Zach, you listening? All right, man. It's calling. You need to step in there, buddy.
So now that we are on that beat, now we're into McLaren's pit stop woes continues, because once again they had a little fumble when it came to Lando's pit stop. So I'll throw it back out. I'll throw it out to you, Simon. Take it away.
Yeah. So Ray in the last couple of months is saying how McLaren and Zach is favoring Lando, but I think this weekend they were favoring Piastri, because that pit stop cost him two places. Right. I think if I'm not doing my math right, it probably cost him 10 points in those 2 places at minimum. So Lando had an opportunity to get closer. Right now, he's 25 points behind Piastri. He could have easily been about 15 points. Yeah. So if they gotta fix those little faux pas, or Max is gonna come behind them and take over the championship.
Yeah. And I just before you go, Ray, I just want to say, and Max is like a great white shark out there. Don't give him an opportunity, he's taking it. He's going for it. He's not somebody that you leave a car's with if you don't have to, or more than a car's with, let's say. He will put his car in there. So you can't be lax with him coming from behind, because he will come from behind and get you. Go ahead, Ray. I'm sorry. I just want to add that.
Oh, so I was just going to say Netflix called an audible because they needed the drama for the next Drive to Survive. So they needed to throw that in there because, the producer said, hey, that's going to be an excellent pivoting point for us when we go to tell the story. So that, Netflix stepped up and said, show you who has power. They called an audible and said, yo, fumble. Okay, good.
Here we
go
go.
back to business now. That's my
build,
take on
build
that
that drama, that tension.
There you go.
That you needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So Simon?
No, I
You had
wasn't
something you were
going to
gonna
say anything.
say?
I think McLaren is just right now. It's interesting and it's making it for a fan like I am and who we are. It's getting interesting. If we can't predict what the end is going to be, we're definitely going to be tuning in, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I'll say this: anyone, and I was kind of in there. I never really, I always said Max, it was going to be McLaren 1, 2, or whatever. But no. Max is letting us know. Oh no, boys, I'm going to get these guys if I can. If they have a hiccup, he has his bad days. He'll still finish like second or something like that, third, or if he finishes even a fourth, then like, okay, that's the best the car could do, and then he hustled the car up. So anyway, it's going to be interesting. So leading into Max's Verstappen's dominance, we got to give it to him. Got to give him. I wish I had the clap thing. I'd be like, hey, clap, because Max he's really showing his quality out there, man. He's really showing it. Any naysayers, anyone that's not in his club, he's like, say, okay, you're not in my club at your peril, because I'm coming. Go ahead.
Well, but didn't he just do a race too out in the Nürburgring?
Yes, he did.
Between the downtime, right?
Yep.
And wasn't there a thing when I've heard could have sworn there was some rule in I don't know if I brought this up before. Some rule that the Formula One drivers that you're not supposed to, while in season, don't go out and do anything else because you can get hurt.
Right. Yeah.
So he's a driver. It seems like he's a driver. He's just so he's showing, and if the team is listening to his input more now over just taking the data as 100%, there might be a big shift in the car with what's coming on, right? And he would be back in contention for this because he's not giving up yet. Right. So he's coming and rolling. So again, Zach, you listening? All right. I just want to say that, what I'm saying?
Simon.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that he did race in the Nürburgring, and maybe he's, has a disclaimer for training. Maybe he's tossing that up for training, keeping sharp. Who knows? But I'm sure he got squared away with that before doing it. The thing that I thought was interesting, or is interesting, about Max is Chris Harris did a piece on him about a month ago, and Chris stated on his podcast that he wanted to do that interview because he loves Formula One so much that we really, as fans, we pick a driver and we stay with that driver, and that driver can do no wrong, but the other drivers can be questionable, right? And Chris said he wanted to do that because he wanted other people to see the other side of Max.
Yes.
And I believe it worked. It worked on me.
Yes.
I don't know if it worked on Ray. Ray's kind of stubborn in his conspiracies, but it worked on me, and it really helped me see the technical skill that Max has on the racetrack, other than just the fact that he was in a brawl with Lewis in 2020 and 2021. That's all I saw. I just saw the brawl, right? But yeah. He is coming for that championship. Don't let McLaren sleep a little bit.
Yep.
He's going to take it.
Well, you know what, Simon, you mentioned that I've watched that episode of Chris Harris and Max a couple times. And for me, it did that. I mean it in a positive, it humanized him to me, it made me connect with him a little bit more, than, you just see the persona they put out on the grid and how they are, but I actually saw him having a conversation with Chris, and it looked like he really enjoyed it. At the end, he said, "No, this was fun," and he said it. I normally don't like to do the PR stuff, but he goes, "I enjoyed this," kind of thing. So yeah, it was good. He's a worthy champion. Put it down, Ray.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's much more I can put on that, right? I can't think of a conspiracy yet to top it off with. So I just gonna have to let you guys
PR, man. It's PR. That's what it is.
Yeah. Promotion, sorry, not conspiracy. Sorry, promotional.
But before I'm going to do it in a flipped order here, just moving into the other thing. I'm going to start with Carlos. Carlos is third place, and how happy I was for him, a driver that Ferrari got
chucked
rid of.
away.
Yep, for Lewis, a driver that was performing. He had the measure of Charles out there, beating him some weekends and such. And then, he was struggling a little bit with Williams, but to see him get a third, finish third on the podium, very happy for Carlos. And the fact that that's their last podium was 2021, when George Russell scored that for them, their last podium. Huh? Yeah,
George
second place. Second. Right. Second, right.
He did again today.
Right. So, I was very happy for Carlos, but I'll throw it out to you guys. You guys can lead in with George as well if you like, but go ahead.
I could jump in.
Go
ahead. Props to Carlos. Yes, he was he's a talented driver, right? And it was kind of tough, and I was happy for him to see that he was able to wrangle the car and get it up there. Nothing against Alex Albon, but it was good for us to see Carlos be himself again and show what he had, with the ability he has. For me, right?
Right.
But in saying so, is George going to be the next Carlos? Because nobody's written his contract yet. You know what I'm saying? So what's going on there, right? Because George is showing up and he's showing that he is the lead guy over there at Mercedes. Right. But nobody's inking that deal. So, I'm kind of curious. Is that another Netflix plant that says, hey, we got to pull that out some more to get more viewers in there? If not, we just, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But George is showing up because he was ill this weekend.
Yeah.
On top of that, right?
Yeah.
Because they, somebody said that what kind of helped him along was the fact that it wasn't very hot temperatures.
Right.
It was very cold, right? Or cool. So it was less draining on him in the cockpit. But he did a good job. Excellent job.
Yeah. Simon?
I think Carlos impressed me the most, in the sense that he actually showed whether the Williams car is up to par with the top 5 drivers or the top 5 in the standings, that he still has the skill. And if you give him a good enough car, you're not passing.
Yeah.
If you think about it, he qualified third or second. I can't remember. And he really stayed in the top 3 the whole time. Right. Lawson wasn't even able to stay in the top 3. Right. He fell down really quickly. So, yes, the elements of Azerbaijan created a qualifying fiasco, and you were very fortunate to get to the top 3, other than Max. I believe was going to be in the top 3 regardless. But it really rearranged the order because of the elements that they had to face. But Carlos proved that he deserved to be there by holding the position.
Yeah.
And to me, that impressed me more than anything else. Right. And he got a podium before Lewis.
Yes, he did. He did. But jumping onto the George part, I agree with you, Ray. I feel like he's underrated in some way by some out there, and that's unjust. He's delivered. He's delivered well. I mean, I don't know. I agree there. And then even that whole thing where there was that rumor that Toto and Max were meeting, and he wasn't around for George's contract and trying to get it puts a bad taste in your mouth, I guess, in a sense, right? But he's been doing what he needed to do. He's been beating his teammate. They brought in Kimi Antonelli, and George has definitely been the team leader. So I feel it for him. George, even when he was teammates with Lewis, I like George. I had nothing against George at all. I think he's a good driver. But anyway, the rookie performance this race. I mean, I mentioned Kimi Antonelli and George beating Kimi, but Kimi had a strong race this race, on a very technical track. So did Liam. And Isaac is there, mentioned as well, but he fell back. I think he finished 10th in the points. But Liam and Kimi, great race. Simon, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think Kimi did well. He needed to have a good race to finish off the season strong. I think just for his confidence and to be able to state that he belongs. I think he was having a tough time during some of the middle of the season there. But so I thought he did very well. Liam Lawson, of course, qualifying well, did very well. Hadjar had some issues there, but he was showing Lewis that he in the beginning that it was not going to be easy to overtake him. And I think he's I mean, our rookies are setting a bar that is high right now. If you're coming in from Formula 2, you're going to have to be able to compete with these rookies or these younger drivers. And I have a feeling this is going to be our lineup for the next 2 seasons, right?
Yeah.
I don't see anybody new coming in unless someone gets hurt or there is an upcoming driver that just is blowing everybody away. We have a strong rookie presence at this point.
I'm gonna throw a dice in on this one and throw a guess. I think Colapinto won't be there next year.
I already called that from the beginning of the season. Just remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, I was first.
Yeah. I saw when he had his little off and the footage I was watching, they cut to Flavio. I was like, nah, you're done, dude. When I saw Flavio's face, I was like, nah, you're done. You know, he does not play. Like, I don't think you're gonna be around next year. So I'll throw that out. But okay.
That's right. He hasn't scored any points, has he?
No, sir.
And Pierre Gasly has scored at least 20. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
Well, I say I don't think Colapinto is going to be there next year, and I don't know. The vibe is I don't think Yuki's going to be there next year either.
Really?
That's just me.
Wow.
That's just me. You know, like I'm wondering if it's going to be Isaac in that second Red Bull. And then what would that be for Yuki to go back to the junior team again? Nah, I don't think so. So I don't know. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents. You know, maybe wrong.
Can I go now?
Go.
Yeah. No, I know Simon. But yeah, because they want to send Isaac to his death by sending him up to the first team so he could go, so they can crunch somebody else and throw them out. That's what the rumor is, that Isaac is, they're looking to promote him. Right. And yeah, it's sad to say that, I don't think Yuki got a fair shake. I want to say a lot of the drivers that sat in that second car seat did not get a fair shake over the past couple of years because of what the direction that Red Bull went with the car development. And I'm thinking that what if I were at FIA and we're really trying to get, a more even playing field, then I think you still need to work on the cars being less aero dependent. And start bringing back some mechanical grip into the cars. And because it's hurting, it's even, as I said already, right, that a lot of these rookies, that if we were to go to I'll say the bad word, a spec car, a lot of these drivers that are, back in the back field there would be bubbling up to the top, right? And from an audience spectacle, it would be more entertaining. So, but taking that back off the table, because I don't want to ruffle any feathers. But if the FIA, and they should be able to do it, and engineer a car that it has less aerodynamic dependency, the cars will be a little slower. Okay, so they don't do 250 miles an hour down a straight, right? That's part of safety. They'll rail it back. Maybe they only do 180, but at least you would not have like the DRS train that we saw, in this race, right? People will be able to pop out and go make a change and show some action on it. So from Liberty Media perspective and also the team perspective, they would get more viewers, which means more revenue. Yeah, my take.
They may. Simon,
I disagree a little. I disagree a little bit.
Just say disagree, Barry. Just say disagree. The
spec cars are great, I believe. Yes, and I think there's racing series that do that can really. I mean, we can go to V8 supercars, right? Which, in my opinion, all the cars are pretty much the same. It's down to the drivers, which the drivers are, in my opinion, one of the best in the world. And they don't get the credit that they deserve. But I think Formula One wouldn't be Formula One if we went to spec cars. And I also think it would hurt or hinder the innovation that Formula One brings to the market. And I hear what you're saying, but human beings are we need something to push us in order to do something great. And Formula One is pushing the envelope when it comes to technology and innovation that allows the drivers and the individuals and the engineers to be great. So that, to me, yeah, if you want to do that, there's other series to do that. But I hear what you're saying, because I do want to know who the best driver is, even though everyone thinks right now it's Max. I do want to know who's the second best driver, or the third best driver, or the fourth best driver. But I don't know. I think Formula One is doing okay financially right now.
Well, I'll say this, right? I'll say this. That's why I threw out the bone and say make it less aerodynamically dependent, right? So they can still give you the room for you to develop whatever you guys have to develop, right? The technology, because yes, it's a technological series, right? But I think, again, it goes back to the days when I was watching in the beginning, when my brother said, hey, watch it, a car parading around. And if you're not into it enough to understand the sophistication of pit stops and undercutting or overcutting, you're just looking at a car going around, so you're losing that side of the audience. So I think if they take back where it's not some of this aerodynamic dependencies, I think then it would then put, level the field somewhat. It won't be 100%, but I think it'll be better now than what we have now.
I'll say this because I've commented on that in the past, but when you just mentioned something about back in the day and pit stops, Formula One is the pinnacle, right? That's why it's Formula One, right? And part of it with the pit stops, even from back then, they had another variable, which was refueling, right? So it's all these balls that are being juggled in the air, right? Aero, did you build it? Did you read the regulations well enough when Braun came in with the blown diffuser? They weren't the only team, but the majority of the teams and the big teams missed that piece, right? So that's Formula One. Like, okay, no, what do you mean? No, it is legal. It was there. It's allowed. You didn't think of it. So now I have an advantage because I read the rules and gleaned that out of it. That's Formula One. So you're never going to get a spec series in that. And like I said, with refueling, it was always then, it was another one that you're coming in. How much fuel are you putting in the car? How long is that going well? The refueling rigs, the FIA came in and standardized those because, of course, if you leave it to the teams, somebody might be getting more fuel than, whatever. So anyway, that's Formula One. So that's never going to change because, like Simon said, you have V8 supercars, you have Indy, you have, whatever. You have NASCAR for those that like NASCAR. You have sports car racing. You have all that other stuff in there. So I feel they'll never bring it in to Formula One, because that's one of the things as a driver, you want to show your quality that a top team wants you. But then when you get into that top team, then you're going to have to assert yourself to get that team to come behind you to get the car to your liking so you could go and win. So like when you said earlier that the car is for Max, all the teams do that. They when Michael was at Ferrari, Rubens drove a car that was designed for Michael. He was number one. So that's what I'm saying. Like you never that aspects or those aspects you'll never get, because I guess they don't have to, and that's what makes it more of a spectacle too. Like when you're watching. But anyway, moving into it, as we said earlier, McLaren had an opportunity if they had, their drivers finished in like I think the lowest was the 4th place. But with one winning, that they could have clinched here. So now we have where Max is now, as you said, it was Simon, 45 points behind
Lando. 44 points behind Lando,
right,
and then add 25 to that.
Right,
I think 69 points behind Piastri.
Right? So already you're seeing how things could switch right there, really quickly. In the drivers' championship, and then McLaren is still up there. They're in the lead. But then now you have Mercedes number 2, Ferrari is number 3, Red Bull is still down there in 4th.
And they're close. They're all within 10 points?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Of each other, right?
Yeah.
So Ferrari
From
was
2 to 4.
Ferrari was walking away with the 2nd place constructors, and now Mercedes is taking that this week. And the DNF didn't help them last week at all, and then only scoring 8 points this week.
Yeah.
They got to do better.
Yeah, they got to do better. So having said that, Ray, unless you have anything to add on that part.
No, I'm done.
Okay, moving into predictions. Moving into predictions.
He wants that spec car, man. He wants
Until it happens, I'm going to tell you I told you so.
Simon, what's your predictions for
Oh
Singapore?
gosh, I cannot believe I'm going to say this, but Max,
Okay.
Piastri, and Lando.
Oh, okay.
Even though I think Ferrari has done something to their car to be competitive, but it's still those top three every week.
Okay. And Ray?
Oscar. It could be Max or Lando too. That's it.
So are you saying then Oscar P1?
Yeah.
Max to P2 and Lando?
Max or Lando will toss up the next two spots.
All right, we'll leave you with a question mark. Yeah. All right, you know what? I'm gonna go with Simon. I think it's gonna be Max because this is yet another track, another circuit where if you qualify well, it's difficult. Coming into that first corner off the start, that's a spot, but it's difficult once you start getting in there. So I'm gonna say Max. And then Oscar also has to serve his have his 5
his penalty, yeah.
His penalty as
Probably
well.
gonna be a 5 grid penalty, right? It can't be seconds.
It could be a time penalty if they gave it to but we'll see.
Fernando.
I'm not gonna comment. I know somebody will shoot that out there, but I'm gonna say Lando. And I'm gonna say Charles.
I got
Max, Lando, Charles.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I got to redo my thing. Yes. So I forgot about the penalty that Oscar has.
Right.
So he's still got to come through cars in order to get there. So
right.
I'll say I'm going to give it to toss up. Then it's going to be Max. It's going to be Lando, and then Oscar will be third.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll see. Well, everyone. Simon is not a fan.
No, well, because of the Piastri penalty, I'm not changing it. I'm not scared. Let's go.
There's no reason to be scared, right? So we're coming to you next week. The following weekend. October 3rd starts the race weekend, or the 3rd of October if you're in the rest of the world. We're going to be coming to you with the results from the Singapore Grand Prix. Until then, please remember to like, share, and subscribe and stay up to date on all things the fellas, and hit the notification bell. And remember, we go live on race day at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Thanks to all the people in the chat. We appreciate you.